Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cultured Gamer. On this week's episode, we're going to demonstrate some early gameplay demo PC footage of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All that and more, and also parental advisory as well. If you're squeamish to violence or if you have children around, please don't watch the second half of this episode. On to the show. Everybody to another episode of The Cultured Gamer. I am your host, Jason Carmona. Back with us is Ernest.
Literally back.
I don't know which way it's supposed to be pointing. My camera's backwards. And with us today is Michael Wayne with The Cultured Nerd. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you for joining us today. I know you have
for having me.
some gameplay to show us later today.
Oh yes.
So real quick, Ernest, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been polishing off some 360 titles. I did finish off Borderlands the pre-sequel, which I don't know if those of you who have played Borderlands, everybody pretty much says, yeah, don't worry about the first one. Really just play the second one. The pre-sequel is okay, but I've had like opposite results. I really, really loved the first Borderlands game. I did not like Borderlands 2 at all. The pre-sequel is kind of like somewhere between 1 and 2 for me. Mm-hmm. 2 is like I like to play these games single player, and 2 just kind of felt more like you really need to play this multiplayer. Everything is just like all the enemies are really big bullet sponges. It was nothing wrong with a little challenge, but this was like I felt kind of like ridiculous, and it was very, very long. One thing about the pre-sequel I did not like was I love Handsome Jack. Handsome Jack is one of the best, most funniest villains that I've ever come across in any game, and he's awesome. He's almost worth playing the games for. But the pre-sequel, it wasn't made by like the usual dev team at Gearbox. It was 2K Australia, and I no offense, I just did not really go for that Australian humor. It's okay, but after a while, it's like, all right, you guys, you gotta chill with the Australian stuff. So because I'm really excited. I kind of want to jump back into my PS5. I got a lot of games I picked up recently, but and quickly I did play. Even though everybody warned me, I did play Attack of the Movies 3D, and it is as awful as they say. So if you're curious, like I was, save your $5.
Mike, what are you playing besides Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Well, I've been playing a good mix between Horizon Forbidden West and the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and that's about it. I'll throw in some FIFA here and there, but
how are you liking the Guardians game?
Right, that was literally what I was going to ask. How are you liking Guardians?
Oh, I'm loving the Guardians game. I never really paid much attention to it, but after watching Guardians 3, I was full Guardians mode, and so I downloaded it. I played it. I've got a couple hours into it, and I'm enjoying it. It's
what console are you playing it on?
PS5.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice. And but past couple of days, my girlfriend and I we've been playing Zelda.
Nice.
Playing through it, and it's a beautiful game.
The new one, right? Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes.
Nice.
Did you play Breath of the Wild?
Yes. I love
that. That.
Oh, beautiful game. One of my favorites. It's one of those games where I can not play it for so long and then hop right back into it and not miss a beat. And just always discovering something new.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think that's in my backlog right now. I have too many Switch games that I'm in the middle of right now, but I haven't been playing that much because I've been in the middle of the move. But I am gonna finish the Street Fighter V campaign this weekend because Street Fighter 6 is coming out, and I want to be done with 5 before I move on to 6.
Comes out soon.
Tomorrow, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, officially. So it drops tomorrow. So I want to finish 5, and then I want to play Mortal Kombat 11 on PS5 one more time because I finished it for PS4, and I have all the PS4 achievements that I earned, but I want to finish the slate on PS5 as well. So
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
If you do play it on PS5, other than getting 4K, are there any other like advantages or
Yeah, there's graphical improvements here and there. The textures are a little bit higher resolution. From the little bit that I've played, I've noticed a little bit.
looks a little better, huh?
Yeah, that's definitely the way to play Mortal Kombat 11. If you've never played it before and you're about to install, if you have the PS4 version, it's backwards compatible with PS5, and there's a free update for PS5. So I would definitely recommend you install the PS5 version when you install that game.
Right.
Yeah. So let's move on to some of our topics so we can play some Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a moment. Ernest, you're gonna have to pronounce this guy's name.
All right. Let me see. Okay, so yeah, neither of us are native Japanese speakers. This guy's name, uh, Kazuhiro Tsuchiya.
So Kazuhiro Tsuchiya is a Capcom producer who is seemingly departed recently. It was spotted on a fan blog, Rockman Corner, that the veteran producer and programmer recently updated his Twitter profile to reflect that he had graduated from Capcom. Basically, he worked on a range of Capcom titles and franchises, including Mega Man, Project X Zone, or Project Cross Zone, I should say, Azura's Wrath, and Street Fighter. He's been credited on projects dating back to the 90s, serving as a programmer for Mega Man 7 for the Super Nintendo and Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo for the PlayStation. He recently served as producer for Mega Man 11, Mega Man Legacy Collection, and Street Fighter 6. I'm going to start with you, Mike. What do you think about this departure?
I don't really play much Capcom, so I'm not.
Ernest,
I'll
what do you
hand
think
that one
about
off
this
over to
departure?
Ernest.
I always try to be as neutral as I can. Personally, on a personal level, I'm sad because, um, I love Mega Man and I love Street Fighter. I haven't necessarily loved a lot of the recent entries of both franchises. However, I did really like Mega Man 11. I thought it was a pretty good return to form. It was
Mhm.
clean, nice looking. It was well received. So this is sad, especially considering that he's not just like a Capcom producer who came in and worked on some of the later entries of Street Fighter and Mega Man. He was a programmer. Again, a programmer on Mega Man 7, which I really liked. Some people didn't quite like the art style of it. I loved it. I thought it was a great swan song for the Super NES. And it never came out here, so it was always kind of like a golden goose as far as games. But I thought it looked really good, played pretty good, not perfect, but this is feels like a big loss. But then at the same time, it's I don't know if he wants to like go out and expand and do more new things,
Mhm.
then good for him.
Yeah. Let's go over some of these games again. Mega Man 11, Mega Man 7, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Azura's
Great
Wrath,
game.
and Street Fighter 6. That's about to come out tomorrow, and it's expected to sell over 10 million copies over the weekend. So,
And maybe Street Fighter 6 did him in.
yeah, maybe he was just
There's
tired
a
of
lot like he was
Capcom's
like after Street Fighter
antics.
6 like, all right, I need to like I need to catch my
He was
breath. I need
probably
to get
like, you know what? To hell with these microtransactions. I'm out of here, dude.
that would be
He was like, screw these transactions.
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
out of
kind of like
here.
Shinji Mikami, he ended up leaving
Yep.
Capcom. But here's the thing, though, a lot of these big time producers and programmers and like old school, people that have been kicking around, they all eventually, which makes sense, they all eventually leave and want to do their own stuff. But I don't know if I would say any of these people, any of the stuff that they've done, holds a candle to any of the stuff that they did when they're under these big. I mean, sorry, but Kojima notwithstanding, I don't know. Some of them have done some pretty all right stuff, but I think we could all agree nobody's done like a new Resident Evil that's like, or a new, whatever
Yeah.
that is even better than. Wow, he left Capcom, like Shinji Mikami left Capcom and did like a game that's like a spiritual Resident Evil successor that's even better. I don't know if anybody can say that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The Mega Man guy did Mighty Number 9, but even
Right,
that
and we
is,
all know what happened. That was Shinji
yeah.
Mikami, I think, right?
Yeah.
No, it was
I
somebody
he
else.
de- definitely the studio, piggy bank definitely helps with developing creatively.
Yeah, but
Definitely,
as poorly received as that game was, I mean, that's in some ways an embarrassment. And then look at Yuji Naka, he's like facing jail time. Like things really went south for him.
yeah,
He was,
yeah.
after how poorly received Balan Wonderland was, he was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and like retire, and then
Probably a good idea.
Hironobu Sakaguchi, he left Square and like he did some RPGs which were great. He did like Blue Dragon and the other one that was really good, Lost Odyssey. I really enjoyed that one. So he's done some good stuff, but he hasn't done like the new Final Fantasy, which is like
Yeah.
where Square's kind of sweating like, dang, we lost that guy. Like, I don't know.
So let's move on to our next topic here. We're going to talk about Redfall for a moment. So Redfall developers reportedly hoped that Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax would kill the project. Developers working on Redfall hoped that Microsoft's acquisition of parent company ZeniMax Media would mean the end of the game, or at least turn into something more recognizable to the studio, a studio famed of immersive sims. This report comes from Bloomberg. Basically, a lot of the developers were unhappy working on this game. Creatively, it was kind of just hitting a wall, and a lot of developers had kind of secretly hoped that once Microsoft had purchased ZeniMax, that this game would just quietly be shelved. But it kept trucking along, and the game eventually came out in the state that it was. We know that once Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, they axed the PS5 version of this game, and then it came out. It felt rushed. Michael, have you played this game before?
I have actually.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this news and the overall game?
Well, playing it on only a short period of time, maybe 30 minutes to an hour of actually playing it. I wasn't a big fan of what I actually got to play. But if the developers and the creators and stuff, if they weren't happy with the direction, and I was reading the article about the microtransactions and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that if they weren't happy with the direction the game was going, then it seemed like it was set to fail. If the people actually making it wanted it to be shelved and stuff, but it wasn't a very good game for what I've played from it.
Yeah, if it seemed very lackluster. A lot of people didn't like it as well. It got very low Metacritic score, and
Yes.
everybody knows
What
how
was the
that
thing that initially, when you were playing it, what was the thing that stood out the most as like where you're like, oh, this is not good, or I'm not enjoying this? What was like what do you think the thing was that like really stood out the most?
Oh, for me, I played it on Series S, the small one. For me, it was bugs. Like it was like bugs galore on that thing. So
like a low frame count, or
Mhm.
like just like
frame rate. Like I would be playing it just doing stuff, and the frame rate would just drop. And I'm like, oh, come on.
Ernest,
So
your
This
thoughts on this
is
news, real quick?
It's such a sad kind of situation because I'm sorry, like right now Microsoft like really does like not need this. And then
Mhm.
it's like this doesn't have to be like game of the year, but and then their response was kind of like, yeah, we should have been more communicative with the developers. We should have given them to. It's like, well, within this with the state that Xbox is in right now, like, what are you talking about? Why is not every single game that's kind of like hyped up? Why are you not like checking this out before it comes out? Why would you just let that happen and be like, oh, whoa, this game is like kind of like messed up. It's kind of buggy and it's not performing well. And well, we should have done this. It's like, like you guys do not have like a lot of exclusives lined up this year. When something like comes out and you just allow this to happen, what on earth is going on?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's embarrassing. It's an unfortunate and it's embarrassing because I love playing on it just competition is good for the industry. It's even people who are like, oh yeah, that's what you get, Microsoft. Well, it's like, you know what, if something happens in Microsoft, things really go south, it's not good for the industry. It's not
Yeah,
taking away PlayStation players. It's embarrassing on Microsoft's end. Like,
yeah,
I
what do you
completely
tell you
agree.
to do all
yeah, I
this?
agree. Yeah, it's definitely embarrassing. And once they acquired, ZeniMax, they should have went through their entire slate and kind of been like, okay, what games do we have in the pipeline right now? What are we
Mhm.
developing? What games are we passionate about? What games are we wasting our time about? What games are going nowhere? And from reading this report, it seems like that the studio is really going nowhere with this game, and it's just kind of like
Mhm.
stagnating.
Yeah, that was the
They
other
were
thing.
developing
People are
something that they didn't
leaving,
want to
and
be a part of. They weren't passionate in. It sounds like nobody was having fun developing, and it really shows in the
Mhm.
overall product. The game sucks. So why waste the money and resources if your developers aren't happy making the game?
Mhm.
It's going to show in the end product. So yeah,
Mhm.
again, just another fail on Microsoft's part. It's really unfortunate. I have a Series X, and I want to know that I invested, strongly and properly in that system. And so far, my return hasn't come back.
So, so with so at Microsoft having Bethesda, those properties and stuff,
Mhm.
does what's happening with Redfall, does that scare you about with future releases like with Starfield, potential Elder Scrolls sequels? Does that scare you guys?
Oh, totally, 100%. At
Mhm.
least for me, I can't speak for Ernest, but um,
yeah, I,
Ernest still has an Xbox 360. He never jumped into the one.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm not like a brand loyalist. I love PlayStation and all that, but I loved Sega. And then PlayStation,
Mhm.
like, I didn't really love Sony coming in, but hey, if you have the console and it's got the games, it is what it is. I'm not gonna like
mhm.
be biased and just miss out on that. And so then when
Mhm.
the 360 came out, I'm not like a big Xbox person. I don't typically like Western consoles and all that, but the 360 was the console that generation.
Mhm.
It was where it was at. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna get a 360. I'm gonna rock with that. And then when they announced that Xbox One, I was out. I was out.
Yeah,
And then like they couldn't, and then I thought eventually I'll get one, but they never really built up any new franchises. Like they had Halo and Gears and Forza, but like then that whole generation they didn't really come up with anything like really new or really must have. And then they kind of drifted more towards Western developed games, which is great, but I'm not into Western games. So I personally was out. And then they kind of double down on that with this new console, but then they have Game Pass, which is awesome. It's like a super awesome value. It's
Mhm.
just great. But me, I'm a physical game collector. So again, I'm just and it's tough. And then like with Starfield and all that stuff, I think that after Redfall, I honestly, but with Redfall, I thought that they needed to get their act together. But like I feel
mhm.
like with Starfield, it I think it'll do better. They're talking that it's gonna run at 60 frames per second. If it was in trouble after Redfall, now it's like all eyes are gonna be like even more so on that. It's like that game like cannot fail.
Cannot
Um
Mhm.
fail.
like it cannot,
No, no, it can't.
And I don't know. I don't think it will fail. Like I'm hopeful, and I'm thinking. I think it'll probably be really good, and
Mhm.
make people that have an Xbox Series X like it. Maybe it'll create buzz where people are like, yeah, maybe I'll check it out. And then they do have the Game Pass, so that's kind of cool too. And maybe it'll give like some momentum for Xbox. Like it's not gonna like surpass PS5, but I mean, I don't know. Even if without these blunders, I don't know if anything would have stopped that.
Mhm.
So
But
yeah,
we want it to be viable.
I'm totally worried.
Mhm.
Game Pass is cool. It gives me quick access to the games, and I can just download them onto the hard drive. It's not they offer streaming, but I don't have to stream. And the games that I don't have room for, if I just want to try it out
Mhm.
real quick, I could just stream it real
Yeah.
quick and try it. Obviously, if you're hardwired, it's better. But yeah, this it kind of scares me because the Game Pass model. Real quick before we move on to the next topic, it kind of allows for a if games before weren't um like half scaled, like they kind of come out incomplete now and they release day one patches, and half the disc is not the game and you got to download the rest, and it's all like day one updates, right? So like um my concern is that the studios don't take enough care as it is on day one, making sure that the game is adequately running. That
Mhm.
with Game Pass, it just allows them to take advantage of the game preview model and just ship the game out incomplete with glitches and bugs like they did with Grounded. That didn't have a lot of bugs, but that was a game preview mode, and that had game preview for a really long time, maybe like a year almost. And they would just incrementally like add stuff to the game as they were just patching stuff in, and eventually they would just release the whole game on Game Pass like a year later, right? You see
Mhm.
that a lot more on Game Pass with games that are, half, complete, and they release them, and I'm afraid that with Game Pass, that model, it just encourages that behavior. Oh, we could just ship a game, have it done, maybe ship it 75% complete and then throw it on Game Pass day one, and we'll just improve it as we go along, and we can hide under the guise of game preview, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it sets a really bad precedent. Yeah, that's my thoughts. let's move on
Yeah.
to let's move on to the next topic real quick. We're gonna talk about Alan Wake 2. So Ernest and I were watching the PlayStation showcase, and they demonstrated Alan Wake 2 with gameplay footage and a little bit more story. They announced also shortly after that it was going to be digital only. There's not going to be a retail copy. Well, that didn't sit too well with a lot of fans, and apparently it didn't sit too well with publisher THQ Nordic. THQ, when it was just THQ Prime back in the day, just regular THQ, before they had closed down and shuttered, they were responsible for publishing PC versions of Alan Wake, and offered their services via Twitter to do the same again for Alan Wake 2. They tweeted basically to Alan Wake and Remedy Games, stating that they did release the disc version of Alan Wake on PC back in the day, in case you missed it. And just because one person or company does not love physical, there's plenty who do still do. And to give it some thought, we'd love to do it again, full circle and all. So, Ernest, what are your thoughts about Alan Wake potentially, maybe sliver of hope, potentially getting a retail copy?
I got to be honest. Like I'm a huge Alan Wake fan. Like currently, right now, it is probably my most hyped game that I'm looking forward to. And a lot of times, I'm just kind of like, yeah, yeah, it's cool. I'm actually like really hyped and really looking forward to it. But yeah, I am a physical collector. When they announced that it was digital only, I didn't like it, but I understand they're really trying to push like this whole just we're just moving forward. We're only going digital. It sucks because it like saves the developer, well, it saves the publisher money. They don't really pass that savings on to us. They're like, oh, by doing it only digital, we can keep the cost down. I'm like, are you kidding me? $60? Like, I wasn't gonna buy it at $60 anyway, because like you mentioned, these games are shipping totally bugged, and like a year later you get like the best version of the game where it's almost like, well, I should have just waited like a year and then played the
Mhm.
game there. And with my backlog, by the time that happens, the game will be like half price or less. So unfortunately, like I'm gonna end up waiting for that anyway. If they were gonna go strictly digital, then it's like, again, if you're not going to give me physical, I'm not paying like $60 for digital. I'm waiting for a deep discount. I mean, like sub $20 before I pick it up. If it's only going to be digitally,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
if it's physical, maybe I'll pay more. I won't be such a jerk about it. I might just, because I want to support the publisher. I do, but I also want to wait till the game is like polished. And yeah, to be true, totally honest, physical gaming now that you're when you buy the disc, it's not like, oh, I own the disc, so like I can always play the game. That may not be true these days. You always kind of have to have an internet to play games, even if they're single player and not online games. You still kind of need an internet. So if they want to shut off access to that game, that may happen. And if you put in the disc in, there's like tons of patches that you'd have to install anyway. So it's not like if you have the disc, you really have the game. I'm aware of that. I like having the disc because I like feeling like I own the game. I like having the box, and I like looking at the cover and looking at the
Yeah.
back and putting it on my shelf and opening it up and taking out the disc and putting in, even if it's all like doesn't really technically mean anything. I like that little ritual. I'll pay for
Mhm.
that. And even though there's the argument for and against it, at the end of the day, they're going to lose a lot of money on people that are like really hardcore sticklers that would not buy the game just because it's not released physically. So why the heck would you not get all the sales that you could if you're going to spend all this money developing this game? Like, again, I think like it's kind of like near 50-50 of people who buy physical and people who just download stuff digitally. Why would you upset 50% of your audience like that? Like I don't know what, like, I don't feel like they gain enough from that. They should take that offer from THQ Nordic and just make everybody happy and like call it a day. And I mean, why not?
Mike, what do you think? Would you buy a physical copy over a digital copy?
Oh yeah, of course.
Would you be
I would buy a
willing to
physical
wait?
copy. If I'm waiting, I would. Yeah, I would, because through that waiting stuff, it gives them time to fix the game so that it can be the best that it can be. I know, but even in general, I prefer to download my games digitally rather than have the physical. So it doesn't
Why
really
is
make a
that?
difference.
Is it just
to me.
is it a space thing?
More of, I don't want to get up and actually take it out. I have to get up.
Hey,
I can
convenience
just
is,
sit down.
Convenience.
It's just convenient, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, even though digital is my preference, like Ernest, physical copies is his preference. He likes to collect and stuff. So I feel like that should definitely be an option. When I heard about this, it didn't really make much sense, but I don't see why a physical copy would be an issue.
Yeah, I don't actually see how I mean, if you're already selling games at that same price digitally and you do it anyways at retail, just print less retail copies and make the game, just print as many as you have pre-ordered. You know what I mean? Catch your pre-order numbers early, find out how many you're going to have, and, figure it out. It's not, I think that THQ or from a less desirable option, a company like Limited Run or Strictly Reserved, they could they can offer a limited edition retail copy fairly easy and with minimal cost to them, because the game's done at this point. They're only printing paper and plastic, and information to disk. It's a cost, but if they get, like I said, if they have a guaranteed allotment of pre-orders, they can guarantee that, okay, we know this many people are gonna buy the retail copy, and we could start manufacturing those copies. You know what I mean? Like, it's if THQ is willing to pony up the cash and handle the distribution of the physical, let them do it. I mean, why not?
See what it could hurt.
Yeah, why not? Unless they
Well,
want
my
too
Illuminati
much.
theory is that this is like the first like really big game that they're like, no, only digital, and it's like a big game. So if you want to play this game, you can only play it digital. And then all the other publishers will be like, ooh, they're doing this, huh? Maybe does that mean that we can start doing it? And they kind of like big games start saying, hey, only digital, and then slowly
I
only
believe that,
digital.
Ernest. I believe that theory. I believe that this is the first game that they're going to start that push. And if it catches on, the next set of consoles will have hard drives only.
I kind of feel that like this is because it's like it's Alan Wake 2. This is kind of a big release, and it's like digital only. I
That's
don't
yeah.
like
They
this
know
road that
people
we're
aren't going to
going
buy this
down.
game because it's only on digital.
Yeah.
Do
People
you
like
think
Ernest are
that
not going to buy
could?
this game if it's only on digital.
Do you think that could create like the backlash that they were getting from releasing it only digital? Do you think that would motivate other companies to keep the physical and digital release?
If the
Yeah.
backlash is
Well,
huge and they don't sell copies, yes.
I think it's a
Yeah.
watch and see kind of thing. Everybody's
Yeah.
going to be like, let's see what happens here. And depending on how sales are and the, like you said, like the amount and the severity of that backlash, but I kind of agree with what Jason is saying about like, next generation, we're really probably looking at just like hard drives. And I think that's pretty realistic. I've accepted that. I mean, honestly, the old games kind of like mean more to me than the current games. I don't know. It's a different world.
All right, we're going
Do
to
you
move on
think?
to the next topic real quick because we want to get to the gameplay real quick. So our last topic today is about Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. Speaking with The Verge, Tommy Williams, Konami's head of communications for the Americas, has confirmed that Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater will reuse the voice lines and voiceovers from the original game with no changes. This will also be the case when it comes to the Japanese dub, especially considering some have passed away over the years. So the article from The Verge does confirm that they will be reusing the original characters, the same voiceovers. The tweet said that the story and character voices from Delta would, quote, remain the same from the original game. Originally, that left room for interpretation. Were they going to just rehire all the voice actors and redub all the vocals like they recently did with Dragon Ball Z Kai? Or would it be something that they would just, port over all the old recorded lines where they, high quality recordings enough to do so? A lot of people wondered if David Hayter would be coming back to record new lines of Snake. So Konami has officially confirmed that they're just going to be reusing the same visual voice dubbings that they did back when Snake Eater was released 20 years ago. Also, they confirmed that Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 may be slightly edited. Some of the rights to some of the historical video catalog has not been renewed, and so there may be some swapping and replacing of footage and of the sorts. Mike, what do you think about this Metal Gear Solid news?
I might get some hate for it, but I was never too big into the Metal Gear Solid games. But just from what I've read, I think it's pretty cool that they're keeping the original voice lines. I guess it could maybe tie into like nostalgia and stuff, but I think it's cool.
Ernest, what do you think?
I'm kind of between you and Michael. I know you are a very big Metal Gear fan. Michael, not a huge fan. Me, I definitely really enjoyed them, but I didn't like a lot of most people that really like Metal Gear Solid really liked it. Really just got really into it. I didn't get like super deep into them like that, but I've owned them all. I've played them all. I've loved them all. My favorite is the first one. I think it's I personally think it's smart that Konami is like kind of they're just keeping the original recordings because they're so good. And I mean, let's be honest, anytime anybody redoes something or reissues it or whatever, and anything is added, it's usually never better. It's always kind of distracting or weird. Anytime that's ever done, I can't think of an example where when they added some stuff in and it was like better. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I think it's a smart decision. I think it's good that they played it safe, even if they and again, we get David Hayter, which is just for me that's like really important.
Yeah.
And even if they got all the actors and they redid it, it would just kind of sound kind of different, like kind of like, for example, in Star Wars, even when they got back James Earl Jones to play the voice of Darth Vader again with the prequels, it's great, because it's James Earl Jones and he's doing it, but doesn't sound exactly like how he sounded in the original trilogy. You can tell he's kind of older. It's just he's a little rusty. So it's a little bit different. These are really small, minute little details, but for Metal Gear Solid fans, they're going to be like hounding on those details. And then as far as like the they're doing that collection with 1, 2, and 3, and they have to like remove some of the footage and stuff. I feel like for the purists, for the really hardcore Metal Gear fans, of which there are a lot of, I don't know, that I think that might piss them off and that might potentially damage some sales. But for the average person who's like, oh hey, yeah, those Metal Gear Solid games are like really popular, I should like pick up like the new release, they're probably just gonna be like, oh yeah, I heard they removed some stuff, but I don't know, I don't care, whatever, I want to play it in 4K. So I don't think that even if people are pissed, I think they'll still buy it. I don't think it's gonna like stop them from buying it.
Right. So my thoughts real quick before we move on to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For the Master Collection, I think it's a shame that they couldn't get all the rights locked down and just pay the money that was required, because this game's going to make gangbusters. It's going to sell like hotcakes. If it's just digital, that's unfortunate. I may still just buy it anyways if it goes on sale. But I already have these games on PS3 in the best version possible, and I also have them on Series X on the HD collection for 2, 3, and Peacemaker. So or Peace Walker, I'm sorry. So I'm already those are the best ways to play those games, the HD collections. So I already have 2 different versions of that, so I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. For fans who haven't experienced those versions, it's unfortunate that they'll probably get a lesser version of that. But they could always seek out older hardware, or they could just watch the videos on Google. They're all online. The Metal Gear Solid Delta news. I'm actually really excited for that. Because that more or less guarantees that this game, cutscene wise, is going to be more 1-for-1 than we originally thought it was going to be. Like, it's not going to be like a grand remake like Twin Snakes, where they
Right.
re-recorded all the audio. So they're using the original cutscenes. And I just went back and watched a side-by-side comparison with the Pachinko cutscenes and the PS2, or I'm sorry, HD collection cutscenes, and visually they're the same movements. They use the same mocap work. So if they're using the mocap work that from those games as well, and the cutscenes are exactly 1-to-1, and they just update the gameplay to play like Metal Gear Solid 5, that would be amazing. This game would be extremely special because Metal Gear Solid 5 is freaking phenomenal. I've only played a little bit of it, but the controls make the past games feel clunky in comparison. Like, it's a revelation. If you've never played 5 before, it's an old game. It's been out for like almost a decade by now, but in the little time that I did play it, it's a revelation in controls for the Metal Gear franchise. It really is a once you've gone there, you can't go back type moment.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, in terms of just the fluidity of going through the menus on the fly, it's just so much easier. So the fact that they're gonna, keep all the visual cues and dubbing's the same is a plus for me. Keep them all the same, keep all the cutscenes the same, just make them look prettier, and then up the gameplay mechanics like Metal Gear Solid 5-ish, and we've got a winner. We're gonna move on to the main feature of our show today. I know Mike's been very anxiously waiting for his moment to shine here. So we are going to demonstrate some Texas Chainsaw Massacre PC early gameplay. We were granted a technical test code from the developer and PR agency representing this game. We want to thank them very much, Gun as well, for giving us an opportunity to play this game early and check it out. We do want to also warn our younger viewers that this game is more than likely going to come out and be rated M for mature. It is highly violent. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of gore. So if you're watching with your kids, or if you have kids around watching this podcast right now, we recommend that you turn it off now. Thanks for watching us. And for our adult viewers who are 18 and above, we present Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game. So like I mentioned, Michael has been playing this game for a moment. The tech test, I believe, ended this week, correct?
Yes. Yeah, it ended Sunday midnight.
We're gonna load the game up now. Give me one moment, and then Mike's gonna take over, and he's gonna just basically tell us about the game and his experience and what it's all about. So here we go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn it
the
down a
game
little bit
was
so you can talk over it. There you go. So go ahead, Mike.
The game was beautiful, and for such an early test copy of it, I was impressed. The graphics, the visuals looked good from where it is in the stage in development and stuff. The look and the feel of the game reminded me a lot of the movies, and as a big horror fan, I was concerned that maybe the developers wouldn't get it right for me, and I think they did good. The motions in the game, like when your character's walking, they felt a little too sudden for me, but I feel like they can smooth that out. The game doesn't come out until August. Waiting for this stuff. to load up so I can talk more about it as it's playing. What I did like about this one though was that the maps are more smaller. They're smaller compared to like Dead by Daylight and the Friday the 13th video game, which I loved.
Yeah, I have those games too. I haven't really dwelled too much into them, but I know that they kind of follow the 4v1 setup, correct?
Mm-hmm. With this one, it's you play as there's 3 members of the family, and I think it's 4 or 5 victims that you're chasing down, which I like because I feel like having the more killers adds some suspense to it. I think.
Now,
But
can victims defend themselves in this game?
they can actually, and that caught me by surprise.
In what
The
ways do they
grandpa.
defend themselves? Can they pick up weapons or set up traps or of the sort, or like what's the method of defense here against these these killers?
In my experience, and what I played was the victims when they would defend themselves, they would normally just like hit me, and you would just get knocked down for 4 or 5 seconds, and then you can get back up and chase them again.
So what
See,
did you like
this
better, Day by Deadlight or the Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight? It's called
yeah, Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
Friday
Which
the
one did you like
13th would
better?
have to be my favorite. Uh, these types of games aren't my the ones I would normally play. But ever
Likewise.
since yeah, but ever
I think
since
Ernest would agree too.
the last time I was on the show, I
Yeah.
decided to give those games another chance.
Hmm.
But I would give Friday the 13th the win every time.
Wow. Because a lot of people
Yeah.
really like Dead by Daylight, and I
Oh
know
yeah,
people
one
said
thing
Friday
I
the
think
13th was fun too.
one thing I think Dead by Daylight does very well is including other franchises in. Like the killer you can play
Yeah,
as like
yeah.
Ghostface or Leatherface, and Freddy. I think Freddy's in there.
So what we're
Yeah, I
seeing right
think
here is
like
the lobby setup. Mike.
Yes, yes, and
Eh,
you don't get. I didn't get to pick who I wanted to be as a member of the family. It was just assigned to me when you loaded into the lobby.
Oh, okay. Is there more than one member to the family when you
Yes,
play?
it's the 3. I was trying to show them on the screen. It's the hitchhiker, Leatherface, and the cook.
Oh,
so
okay.
this is based off the first movie, like the original
Yes.
first movie. Then
Yeah, none of the remakes or anything like that. Although I'm sure, like, if the game is popular, they'll probably have packs featuring characters
yeah,
from like the sequels. If you get to play as Dennis Hopper, that would be so cool.
yeah, that would be so cool.
And when we load into this, I was uh, just trying to explore, trying to figure everything out.
Family and friends are urging anyone with information regarding her disappearance to please come forward. Another disturbance was reported at the abandoned slaughterhouse outside of Hills Prairie. Deputies responded to a caller reporting loud noises from the dilapidated facility after midnight. Police investigated the site and found evidence of trespassing and minor equipment theft, but suspect it is
When I first started playing this, like for the life of me, I could not figure out where Grandpa was because it might be this one. Like my collection of the blood filled up all the way before I finally found it, and the game was almost over at that point.
Huh, why? What happened there? Why are there
Yeah,
two?
I was confused when I saw 2 Leatherface.
That's the
Whoops.
secret. He has a secret twin.
He's got a doppelganger twin
Yeah,
that hides in the
doppelganger.
attic. One's in the basement, in the cellar, and one's in the attic.
Right. Hello, Scream.
Here you can just see me running around. I'm just trying to figure out the controls and get used to them.
It's funny. This guy is the best in the original movie.
Is that a location where people can hide?
Yes, even when I'm playing as the killer, they've jumped out just like as like a burst run, and genuinely scared me.
So when you're in the trunk, when you're in the trunk, is there a visual to see like what's outside the trunk, like a keyhole?
Yeah, like a little
I
crack or.
when I got to play as a victim, I didn't go into the trunk.
Okay.
But when you hide in like cabinets and stuff, there's like a little slit in the doors that you can see out
Okay.
of. You don't get a lot of visual, but
Is it like a shaky cam type visual? Does it make it like does it
it's just
increase
steady.
intensity?
I do know that when see, that's just creepy. When one of the killers is getting near you, you'll get an indicator on your screen.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one playthrough I was on here, and I was just exploring. I think I was the cook, and I was just walking around looking at the map because it was different than this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely forgot that I was one of the killers. And then like Leatherface just runs by with his chainsaw, and I was like, oh crap! I was trying to run, and I was like, oh wait, no, I'm the killer too.
You're like, oh yeah,
But
he's on my team.
Yeah, you're like.
one of the things
that's
that
cool.
frustrated me with, and it was really only this map that I ran into the issue, was that there's little openings in the walls that you can slide through
Uh-huh.
when you're chasing your victims. Leatherface and the hitchhiker, Leatherface and the cook can't get through those, and it was very frustrating. At first, I thought it was something that was annoying that they need to fix it, but then when I started to think about it more, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just it's a balance. Maybe they're balancing out what the killers can and can't do.
Yeah, sounds like it. Like one of the disadvantages, I guess, of.
Yeah, but the cook, what he could do that I really liked was see this little entrance right here. He can shut those, and when you're playing as a victim, it takes forever. See, I got confused. I thought he was a victim. It takes forever to open those. And what the hitchhiker he can do, one of his abilities, he can set traps, and I think you'll see me set one right here. So it's cool. And the cook, he actually has an ability to where he can focus and hear where victims are, and there's little indicators on the on your screen that would show you which way they are. And I thought that was really cool. And all the hours that I got to play this game, I only got Leatherface once, and I was disconnected within like 5 minutes. But it wasn't anything to do with the game. It was that was an issue on my end. But see right here, it's just the movements and the players I thought were just a little too sudden for me. Maybe I'm just nitpicking or something. See, that scared me. I remember that because I did not hear them walking up. But with this game, it was a blast, especially with parts right here where you're chasing them and it's like the anticipation of trying to get one of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they get away from you. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast with it.
Does this character always carry the small knife, or can you pick up bigger weapons?
It's just that they have their weapons. He has the knife. The cook, I think the cook has a crowbar, and then Leatherface, he has his
chainsaw.
His chainsaw. One thing I do hope when the full game comes out, I hope there's some customization to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get some different skins from the different movies.
Yeah,
like I know the Friday the 13th video game did that, and that was an excellent thing. See that right there, that little opening right there.
Slit.
He can only go through there. The cook and Leatherface, they can't.
I mean, it's cool that it's not just one, killer versus like 4 victims. It's cool that there's like 3 killers,
And I will say, it's not easy getting all of the victims. It's hard.
I would have to agree, Ernest. You think adding the additional slashers would increase the intensity and like, oh yeah, we can't just hide from one guy. We know he's at the end of the map, and Leatherface pops up from a corner and he's
And
You know.
here's another thing that I feel like could use some tweaking. There's these bone traps right here, and that lets the killers know that if one of the victims runs past it, they're there. But like even if you know one of the other killers runs to there, it indicates that that was moving, and it kept maybe it was just me, but it kept making me think that that's where the victims were, but instead it was just one of my teammates passing
Oh,
through it.
okay.
So I was like,
So,
maybe
so
if
you guys were activating friendly traps.
yeah, and I was like, maybe not show that they're on the same team if it's your teammate running through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of like that can
It
throw you
almost
off.
like
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally.
and you waste
And
all the time
there's
backtracking all the way to your trap and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's I've only seen it one time, but there's an electric fence thing that Leatherface can do, I think, and it's hilarious when the victims run into it because they kind of just like shoot backwards.
There's like a pop. There's a pop back
Yeah,
animation to him.
though it was hilarious, and I I didn't know what happened at first, and then I kind of went over and saw this the fence. So that was golden. You
Can
see
you hop
those
over
things right
the?
there.
Could you hop
You
over
can't.
those short walls?
You cannot.
Yeah.
No, man.
And that's one thing I hope gets added.
Oh yeah, I see what you did right there when you activated that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But can you level up in this game and get like new skills or
you can. Yes, you
Oh,
can definitely
okay.
do that. See right here, this is him defending himself. And he just knocks
Okay.
me.
Hmm.
I ran the wrong way. Watching it now, he
That's
clearly went to my right. There's
so
one
the
level on
victims can
here.
kind of fight back,
Yes, they can.
especially against the hitchhiker.
Yeah, the hitchhiker, he's not the strongest.
Yeah, he looks like he's probably the weaker of the three, or
Yeah.
is the cook the weaker?
The cook, I got some pretty good kills with the cook. I don't know if maybe his character had a higher damage than the hitchhiker, or maybe I just had a better game.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
my
I would think
favorite,
probably so. He has a long range weapon, right, with the crowbar.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in this game, but we should see a Leatherface execution at some point.
Do all
I didn't know he was.
killers have executions?
I'm sure. I know the cook and Leatherface do. I wasn't in any position to get an execution in with the hitchhiker. It's the only he can do those, from my experience.
Sneaky.
I always like following Leatherface around because I always think he's chasing somebody, and I wanted to get a kill. But you see, like the lighting and stuff in the dark rooms. To me, that looks excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
it does
it
look
is
pretty.
in this development.
Yeah.
And just like
Foliage
that
looks pretty
eeriness.
nice too.
Yeah, like the eeriness and how the map's designed, like the dirtiness. It just reminds me of like the classic, the original
Yeah.
Leatherface, and I appreciated that they took the time to do that.
Yeah, it definitely adds a sense of authenticity to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I know the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of my favorites because you don't really see any on-screen kills
Right.
in that one.
Mine as
Yeah.
well. One of my
That's what I
all-time
appreciated.
favorite horror movies. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's all
actually
like
not
it's all like a visual in the mind type of
right.
thing, like less is more and worse sometimes,
Yeah. It's like what you don't see makes it more horrific in a way because your
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
mind fills in the gaps in a more like
There was one time I was playing on this map. Each time I walked out this door, there would be somebody new over here working on the car. I think it's right here. Like each time I would walk out this door, there would just be somebody new.
somebody nude.
New.
What?
No, if they were new, that'd be crazy.
We'd have a different type of game here.
Yeah, we'd be
Yeah.
Laser Suit Larry.
She confuses me because I don't know where she went.
Yeah, where did she go?
She just disappeared on me.
Oh man, like she was like right there.
But there's one level I was playing as the victim. It was an underground setting, and it was just I don't know if it was my PC settings, maybe if I just didn't adjust the light settings appropriately, but like it was just so hard to see. I don't know if that was on my end. But see, somebody knew every time.
Yeah, it might be their HDR or not the HDR, but like the RGB range. It could be either limited or full, which can crush your blacks, and that's kind of one thing that's annoying for me this gen is like you have to make sure if your TV or your display is set to limited or full.
Yeah, so I didn't. I mean, even with like that darkness, I didn't want to knock it too much because maybe it was just an issue on my end. So I didn't want to be too heavy on that.
Yeah. And plus, like you said, it's not coming out till like August. Maybe they're still kind of like
Yeah.
Tweaking it and fixing things
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
But I am genuinely looking forward to the full game for this. Because Jason, the Friday the 13th video game, was so much fun to play before all the stuff happened, before they had to shut down the servers.
Yeah. That was.
Wait, what? That game's done already?
Yeah, that game's done.
It's done. That's it. Like
they moved on
Friday
to
the
Alien
13th?
versus Predator, I think, right?
I'm not so sure about that, about what they moved on to. But yeah, there's a whole legal issues with Jason's character between the creators, I believe.
Yeah,
so
the creators and the producers are suing for
Mhm.
who owns the because apparently like the first movie just like focused on Mrs. Voorhees, right?
Yeah.
But they're saying that the people who are suing say they want rights to the whole thing, and then it's crazy. Like once Jason came into the picture, there was a whole different set of creators, and the way that he's portrayed in the movies going forward after part 2, right, is when he gets the famous hockey mask and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So those writers are claiming that they created Jason as we see. It's kind of like a Bob Kane and Bill Finger situation here, where like Bob Kane created Batman, but Bill Finger added everything that makes Batman Batman. You know what I mean? Like the Bruce, the costume, the lair, the sidekick, the villains, that was all Bill Finger. You know what I mean? It's the same situation with Friday the 13th right now, where you have somebody who created the franchise initially and the character of Jason, but then you have writers who came in and changed Jason to the point where the change was so fundamental that's where it went going forward. It's kind of like, you have to give those people the credit, and also, so there's a lot of like rights legality going on, like you mentioned.
One of my favorite things. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No. Actually, I want to hear one of your favorite things.
One of my favorite things about this game was how gory it can be, and going into it, I wasn't sure what level they were going to take that. Because if you watch any Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, it gets really graphic. But from what I've seen in playing this game, it holds up to that, and I loved it. And one of my favorite Leatherface was the one with I think it was the movie with Jessica Biel in it. Yeah, I love the one with Jessica Biel in it. That one was my favorite.
Which one was that again? Jessica Biel?
I think it was.
Was that the same one with Matthew McConaughey?
I think Jessica Biel was in the one with Matt Boomer.
Was that
I might have it mixed up.
Was that the first reboot? Because I know one of the girls from Fast and Furious, the girl who plays Paul Walker's love interest, is in
Oh,
one of the
okay.
reboots. I think it was the
She's
beginning.
in the one with Matt Boomer.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
The one with what's her name? Is it Alexandria Daddario? I think
That
that
was the
one's
3D one,
yeah. I think that one's the worst one. Like,
the worst one. Yeah, it's kind
yeah,
of
I
weird.
couldn't.
It's kind of weird. They kind of make Leatherface a hero at the end. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
Oh,
and
no.
you know,
Kinda
they're
weird.
cousins.
yeah, they're
really?
cousins and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Spoiler.
I feel like the first two are like the only two like real ones, sort of, and everything after that was like were like remakes or just kind of
Yeah.
like reimagining, sort of.
I
Even
remember
two had its issues.
I remember one of the remakes when they did the first remake, and then they had the prequel sequel to it. The one where they had the Full Metal Jacket guy as the sheriff, right? The general, he was the sergeant. He was the
Yeah.
sheriff in that movie. And I remember Jessica Biel was in the first movie, and the Fast and Furious chick was in the second one. And I particularly liked those ones, but the one thing I do remember of those reboots was that they showed more gore than the previous ones. You know what I mean? Like I do remember, like what Ernest said, that movie was a little bit more to the imagination, and it was just more raw and just kind of like, intense.
Yeah, very
and
dirty and
and dirty.
I
And the
think we have
sequels.
an execution coming
Oh.
up soon. I might be wrong. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's cool. That was my thought.
get some, yeah. So when they get injured, do they like does it make you like run slower or something?
Yes,
Or oh wow.
and that's terrifying. When I was playing with my headphones, here's the cook's execution. I didn't realize I was interrupted.
Oh, hello. He got
Yeah,
dinged in the
even
head.
if like you're wearing your headphones, you're in the zone, and you're doing your things, and you hear Leatherface just run by with this chainsaw. It's terrifying. So the sound is amazing, and you really get into it. It's good.
So how long do you think the licensing will be good for this game? It's not going to be just indefinite, right? Like, that's like a big issue these days with games.
I don't know how that works, but I think if the game's a
wonder.
success, I don't see why they wouldn't keep the license.
Yeah, but it's kind of like how Sega can't really do much with like Outrun because they don't have the license for like Ferrari and just like weird stuff like that. Or like, I'm not a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto 4, but like if you put that game in today and you install the latest patches, they'll like literally take out music that that the original game had because of like licensing. It's just
I think if the
like,
license for this game expired, they would just probably pull the game.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is like, I wonder how long they're like the run is going to be for.
I know
Well,
the.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I know when the issue started with Friday the 13th, they took away the online service part of it, and you can still play it with like if you're on the same network or like on the LAN or something, you can still play it. But I know once that issue started, the multiplayer thing got taken out of it.
Did you play it like couch co-op? Because let's say like I have like Friday the 13th for PlayStation 4, I won't be able to go on PSN and like play random people.
No, there was no couch co-op from what I remember.
Okay, so I mean, for sure, PC you could probably set up your own LAN and you could play,
Yeah.
but like PS4, would you be able to do anything?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So is this that level you were talking about that's like really dark?
Yes. Yeah. I think this one might be where I die like 5 minutes into it.
Wait, you were a victim on this one.
Yeah, like Leatherface, he just murks me.
Yeah, that makes it.
So the victims
really
start
tough.
off chained and shackled.
Yes.
What is this place?
And it's just really dark in some spaces. Like if there's not a light there, you couldn't see.
I mean, I don't know. I suppose it could be like intentional, like it's supposed to be. I mean, I don't know. Like at the same time, while you can't see, maybe like the killers may have a harder
Mhm.
time seeing you as well.
Oh, I would probably imagine that for the slashers, they could probably see in the dark a little bit better.
Yeah. Oh, I think the slashers can see better. Like,
I would try to make it that way. I mean, that would give them the advantage, right? You don't want to be in the
Mhm.
dark. You want to be in the light so you could see them clearly. If they're in the
I try
dark,
to
if you're in their basement, they can't see you. Go ahead, Mike.
I try to show the stuff like on the walls and stuff. You can see their victims, just like their heads just cut off, hanging on the wall, all bloody and stuff.
yeah, I saw a body back there, and I was like, wow, it's kind of yeah, it was pretty
It's a
gruesome.
bit much.
Most of
I mean,
this is
I
just
like
me.
it. You know, I'm happy to see that stuff.
Most of it's just me exploring and slash being lost. But there's something I'm trying to. I was working on when Leatherface gets me, and like I was like middle of it when he shows up, and I'm like, oh screw it.
I'm
I
not
mean,
letting you
I'm not
slip
going to
away.
outrun him.
Please protect us. Please.
Like here come like a character run past, and I'd get paranoid.
Yeah, because it scares you. You don't know who it is. It
Hmm.
just pops up.
Like I just can't see anything, and you don't know who's running by.
Honey, over here.
You think they'll port this to like make like a VR version of it?
Oh, that would be
No.
insane.
No.
That'd be
Jason, why
cool,
why
but
you
I don't know.
say why you immediately just like no? Like you don't think that there's like a budget or interest or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that VR would be too expensive for this game. I mean,
Mhm.
Dead by Daylight is really popular,
Yeah.
and if that didn't get a VR mode, um, I don't foresee it happening. I don't think the studio has the budget for it. I think this is a little bit lower key than that. I think.
See, this is where he gets me.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh man.
Oh, he got you.
Oh my god.
You don't get to see it because I kind of glitch out. Yeah, I fall through the floor.
I think got some bugs and kinks to work out.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I ended up leaving it. I died too early. I didn't want to sit around and hang out.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for showing us this gameplay today, dude. This
Yeah,
has been
Pretty
it's been an
fun.
experience.
it was a
Definitely.
lot of fun. And if you, even if these type of games aren't your thing, I would definitely recommend checking this one out when it comes out in August. It was a lot of fun to play. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait.
Sounds pretty favorable, huh?
Hmm. Hopefully, it holds up with what Friday the 13th did.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Mike, where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram, on Twitter. Uh, my social is right there for both accounts.
Ernest,
Yeah, I
where
have
can
a
Stop by
people
and say
question
find you
about
hi.
your
online?
social. I have a question. So it's you're at Michael, and is it that just one underscore and then Wayne and then another
It's
underscore?
underscore Wayne then
Two
underscores.
underscores. Okay.
Yeah.
Ernest,
All
where can
right.
people
Very
find you
cool.
online?
Me also. I'm not as cool as Mike. I'm not on Instagram yet, but you can find me on Twitter at Emperor underscore Ernest. Just one underscore at Emperor one underscore Ernest.
You can also find me on Instagram and on Twitter at MosesIVVIOC. You can also follow Mike and I at The Cultured Nerd. There's a lot of news that drops on the website, theculturednerd.org. Go ahead and visit that, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel right here, and you can catch all the other shows as well. Again, thank you, Mike, for recording some of that gameplay and joining us
Thanks for
today.
letting me.
Hopefully, we have you on again very, very soon with the next game. We've
can't
been
wait.
talking. Yeah, can't wait. Ernest, thank you
Fingers
for joining
crossed.
us today.
Yeah, for sure.
And we want to thank you for watching today. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead and visit patreon.com/the culture nerds. You can support this show's tier as well as all our other shows on the YouTube channel. I want to thank our co-host Ernest, and once again thank Michael Wayne for joining us today. Thank you to our Patreon supporters Wesley, Mitch, Connor, Anna, Oscar, Craig, and Salib. We want to give a shout out to Jose Navarro for the logo artwork. Go ahead and follow him at Navarro and Jose M. And thank you for joining us. If you like this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up and click subscribe for more episodes. And if you have a QR reader, go ahead and scan that QR code on the bottom for more Culture Nerd content. Thanks again. Have a great day, everyone.